My name is Commander Santiago, and today I'm going to be ranking every single country in Hearts of Iron 4 based on how the AI plays and how they handle with them. Some nations are absolute beasts in the hands of the AI, and others, well, they collapse faster than France in 1940. This is all based on my experience watching the AI in both base game and in Road to 56, so expect some hot takes and maybe a few countries you didn't expect to be that high on the list. And if you end up enjoying this, hit that like and sub button. I really appreciate it. And I'll have more AI videos coming soon as well. But none of that, let's get started with the worst nation that the AI handles with in the entire game. It's none other than, well, Nepal. Not only are they in like one of the worst regions of the world, Southeast Asia, their whole terrain is just fighting in mountains. And their two neighbors are Tibet and the British Raj. And literally what the AI does with this is just nothing. They just sit there and they do less than Switzerland somehow. And also the fact that they have just a basic focus tree in base game and in Road to 56. So although their guy looks pretty cool with that outfit, they're definitely just the worst nation that the AI handles with. So for that reason, they're going straight to F tier. Like by far the worst of the worst. And I guess we might as well move on over here to Bhutan as well. Because even though in Road to 56 they have a focus tree, in base game they don't, and it's kind of sad because I do wish that they formed the Thunder Dragon Empire every game and they just took over all of Asia. It just doesn't happen. They don't have the buffs or anything. The AI can't handle it. Maybe you can as a player, but just the AI got nothing to do with here. So for that reason alone, they're also going to be going in F tier. It's sad, but it is what it is. And making our way across the entire world all the way over to the Americas, we're going to be going and looking at Central America and the Caribbean islands here. Because these countries don't do anything. No matter how many games I record, these countries just sit there and do nothing. And even with me playing Road to 56, they have some trees for them to maybe form Central America or the Italian Federation. They just don't tend to do much and they just sit here and cause my game to lag. So for that reason, all of those countries are just gonna be going on the list, sorry to say. And from Central America, I guess we can make our way down over to their neighbors in South America. And mainly I got four in mind over here: Ecuador, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And even though Paraguay and Uruguay have some new focus trees, or at least with the DLC that they got down here, they're not really much for the AI to be like, oh, let's go conquer all of South America, guys. And even Bolivia over here, I feel bad because they can't even get rid of some of these national spirits because they have nothing here. And don't even get me started on Ecuador. They do literally nothing every game, besides that they have this little border war here with this state and they always lose to Peru. And so for that reason, they're also going in F tier too. And if you thought that was it for just all the F tier countries, I'm just getting started. And don't you think you're safe here, because you got some stinker nations. And I'm not even gonna start with you, Luxembourg, first. I'm actually gonna start over here with Ireland. And yeah, it kind of does suck that they get picked on by the UK, but really they don't do much. They just sit and they can't do much either because they have 9 factories. What? And you know, they all died in that potato famine thing. It's not much you can do about that. And I might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone over here with another island of Iceland. Wow, you know, they do so much. And I mean, it's terrible because they're first of all a dominion of Denmark, which was already a terrible nation that the AI handles with. And they have 2 factories and like literally no manpower. They just sit there and do nothing. What a worthless nation here. So they're both going in F tier. And I guess since we're on the subject of Denmark owning Iceland, let's talk about you, buddy. Because Iceland might be bad, but man, what a disappointment when the AI controls you. No matter who's invading you, you have that mechanic where whenever they just land in their country or in Copenhagen, you just fold. You just snap and they're dead and you become a puppet. And yet again, your focus tree, you got stuff stuff going on, but there's just not much in terms of manpower or just making an empire you got going for yourself. So it makes sense why the AI sucks with them. It's because they're just not good. And that's why they're going in F tier as well. And well, I guess we can just smidge on over to the right here and look at these three brothers of disappointment. I mean, no personal hate towards these countries. They're beautiful and they look great, but I mean, when they play in Hearts of Iron 4, the AI just does nothing. It's rather they just sit here and have a focus tree that maybe they could do something with and form like some Baltic assembly thing or anything really, or they just all go, oh hey guys, we seek the Soviet support, and then they just turn all puppets to Mr. Joseph Stalin here, which is just lame and stupid. And I mean, Lithuania, out of all the Baltic states, you could have done more, which is like uniting with Poland or something, but you don't. You just sit there and the AI just does nothing with them, and that's really sad. So yeah, you guys are just gonna have to go in F tier as well. And I guess let's just keep going on down until we hit Albania. And also, no hate to my Albanian fans, they're pretty cool and chill, but when the AI plays with them, I mean, might as well just disable it. What are they doing? I don't even think they have a focus tree in Road to 56, and if they do, it doesn't matter. They just sit there and do nothing. There's not much else to say about it besides you being F. And I guess we're done with Europe. Oh wait, hold on, I almost forgot about you, Mr. Luxembourg. I mean, I don't know what to say besides that be bowling Luxembourg if I said anything bad, so I'm gonna just say they go in F tier, and that's basically it. And I guess from Europe we'll just make our way on down over here to the Middle East. And now I'm not gonna talk about Syria and Lebanon or whatever. They don't do anything at all to even be called an actual country in this game. I'm gonna be looking at countries like Iraq and Yemen and Afar, because you know they do so much for the game. The AI goes crazy, but unfortunately no, that's not the case. And I was really hoping that Iraq would be good in the new update that they made, but we all know how that update turned out. And well, I guess talking about the update, let's move on over here to Afghanistan. I mean, do I even want to talk about them? And I mean, they do have that updated focus tree. Some people say it's okay, some say, well, like what his face looks like right now. But I mean, when the AI's handling with them, are we really even gonna say much to praise them? I don't think they are. So let's just put them in F tier. And hold on guys, we're not gonna put every country in F tier. Just trust me, I need to get this out of my system. But first, I guess let's just talk about the elephant in the room, literally the British Raj. I mean, man, just what a disappointment with the focus tree. I mean, it's just such a like mess. And then when the AI tries to handle with it, I mean, like, you think any of that's gonna go well? They go independent, they do nothing. They stay as a colony, they do nothing. I mean, I wish like something would have happened where they did like the Mughal Empire more often. The AI kind of pops off a bit, fixes all these terrible national spirits. But I mean, in the end, not much is going on with this nation, sadly. That's why they're going in F. And let's just get the last waves of the F tier countries out of here. The Philippines, British Malaya, Dutch East Indies, Australia, and New Zealand. I mean, like, what is there to say about these? These are all colonies of just other countries. Even if they go independent and Road to 56, like, there's some updated focus trees. I mean, Philippines got a cool one where they can go and take back Spain over here. That'd be sick to see if the AI did that. But no, sadly, they don't. They don't even send, like, their troops over really anywhere. They kind of just stay in port, and that's about it. And even sometimes Japan comes in and just messes with everybody's whole coastlines over here. And I've seen Australia get like literally destroyed by the Japanese somehow. So what is there really to say? But yeah, you guys are just gonna have to go in F tier for this one. Oh, and I almost forgot one more country. Okay, let's just be honest here. Out of literally all the warlord states that I think are cool and they're like do something, Manchukuo, know, I mean, they're just the worst. Even though they're a puppet of Japan and they go to war with China or whatever, they're just easily the worst. They don't do anything. And that will complete our F tier list. But let's move on towards the D tier. And with us talking about Manchukuo, let's cross the Pacific Ocean and make our way over towards North America. And no, I'm not saying the US, that's a little ridiculous, but we're gonna talk about their northern brothers over here with Canada. And I'm not saying sorry for you guys, even though that's your guys' thing. But I mean, when the AI is going with you guys, even if you go to war with the US or like Britain calls you in to go fight a world war over here, you're just kind of sad. You don't do anything. Your focus tree, what do you want me to say about it? The AI can't really work off of this to do much. But at least they're not like an F tier where they could at least be called in and do a little bit of damage, because I know sometimes these Canadians do a little bit of a crazy encirclements here and there when they're fighting. So let's go put them up in D tier. And from one North American country to another, Mexico. And I mean, Mexico kind of has a lot of big potential here to just like mess up the US if they're in a war, or even go down south and make some Central American countries a part of them. But they just kind of don't do that a lot. They just tend to lean a little bit more neutral. And there's definitely some footage out there that I've had where when they go communist and they have that whole like, yeah, revolutionary class and they go to war with all the other countries down here in the south, they just kind of get curb stomped on by the US, or even for some reason the UK and Belize. They just have a terrible time with that. So they're also going in D tier because of that. And from Mexico, I guess we'll just make our way on down back into South America and just, well, finish off the rest of these countries here, because let's be honest, they don't do much either. And if it wasn't for Road to 56 countries like Venezuela, Colombia, and Peru, they'd just be an F. They don't do anything. But because of that, they do just enough where they can have a civil war and maybe go to war with a neighboring country sometimes. And even like Peru here can sometimes form the Inca Empire in Road to 56, but that's like so rare. That's maybe happened once. And I'm more focusing on like Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. They kind of do a little heavy lifting over here down south. Brazil can sometimes go to war with Bolivia and Uruguay, even Paraguay here too. I wish they also went down that whole like monarchist path a little more and maybe gotten some of those like Portuguese colonies. I'm pretty sure they could do. Argentina and Chile just kind of have that like brotherly hate towards each other. They just kind of like fight back and forth, back and forth. They're like, I'm gonna kill you. And they just don't seem to really get along too well. So that's why they're also going in D tier. But let's make our way back from South America and back again to Africa to talk about these three main countries here with the Congo, Ethiopia, and South Africa. Now, I would rank them all differently. I think Ethiopia has like the most potential to do something, that having the communist part of the tree and maybe even hopefully sometimes doing some communist uprising in Africa, and some countries kind of go a little crazy. But more often than not, the most likely thing I see is just, well, they kind of reach out to the Italians and then become a puppet and then become independent, but it's not much for me to be anything considering of the AI to do. And I mean, I gotta give credit where credit's due. The Congo, when they have the AI in control, it's always great to see when they have some cool king leading the country and they're just like kind of pop off a little bit down here, but they're not really doing much. So the AI just kind of likes to show off their cool king, and that's about it. And I mean, this is kind of a toss-up for me. They could have been an F, they could have been in D. I don't really care as much, just because since they're a Dominion, they can sometimes help out with the British and maybe have some troops stationed wherever. But also another thing is that when they go for the brand ideology, they can sometimes help out the Germans in Africa, and then the UK's kind of start looking at them like a little threat from the south side here. So it's not too bad for them, honestly. So for that reason, they're gonna go in the D tier. And while from South Africa, we're gonna go a little up north and talk about the Middle Eastern countries that remain to be talked about. That being Saudi Arabia and Iran. And with Iran, I was hoping so much good stuff with the AI and them having, like, for some reason, some crazy buffs of just having like a billion trillion factories. I don't know why, but they don't do much. I don't even really see them try to form Persia often. They, even if they do, sometimes they lose a civil war when they do something over here. I don't know. It's just sad, and I wish they did more about that, but sometimes they can be a little bit of a menace here when the Soviet Union starts knocking on the doors. They can put up a pretty hefty fight for Mr. Joseph Stalin here. And I mean, I know that Saudi Arabia doesn't have a focus tree, and I get that. And even in Road to 56, they have not much to be talking about. But even then, when they start asking for some British colonies and they say no, most of the time the UK is not even ready, and they cause a little bit of havoc over here in the Middle East. And also just a little quick nod over here to the Mandate of Palestine. In Road to 56, they had this pretty interesting focus tree where when you go down it, they have different paths if you want to become like a united country with the Israelis and Palestinians, or you can go down and become like Israel and Palestine, and they can sometimes cause like havoc down here. Let me tell you, in my videos, it's just kind of insane what they do down there, but it's not enough for me to really say they changed the world in any way. They're also gonna be going in the D tier list. And from the Middle East, let's go over a little westward into the out of the Mediterranean, Portugal. And I love playing Portugal, by the way. I thought they have a pretty nifty focus tree, nothing too crazy, but it's like enough for me to have fun and have some little crazy little spots all over the world and just like colonize Brazil. But when the AI plays, then I don't know, it's just like maybe sometimes they try to eat up Brazil. I've maybe seen that once or twice, but any other time they don't really do much. Even if they do the whole like uniting Iberia thing, they'll unite it for sure, but after that they're just kind of sitting doing nothing again. But I'll give credit where credit's due. When they have to show up for something, they can show up, but that's just a limited amount of times. So I'll put them at D tier because of that. And from Portugal, let's make our way up north and talk about the Benelux countries, because they do so much. As in, like, I don't know, maybe get squashed by Germany almost every game, or even France. Well, I don't know, sometimes France has their troubles. But let's talk about Belgium. Belgium, they had this new interesting update when they got a Demring update came out, and their focus tree had this whole Congo thing, and they looked pretty good. I thought they would be like a kind of a menace here as a small nation to play in a big part of Europe here, but we all know the AI is not that smart. And well, yet again, I've yet to see Belgium do anything with just any part of their focus sheet. Maybe they might go the brown ideology, maybe sometimes take over the Benelux region and form Benelux, but it just doesn't really happen. They tend to get curb stomped on, and even some reason the UK invades them and kills them off. And also with their brother, they don't got much going on for them too. They got an old focus sheet from a time when they thought this stuff was a good idea with trade relationships. Come on now. And because of that, I mean, the AI just doesn't do anything because they don't know how to improve the trade relationships that well. And half the time they're just staying democratic, and they're not doing like the brown ideology and joining Germany as often, or going communist, or doing whatever. And I'd love to see them like try and get South Africa or just like Australia, get their old colonies back, but the AI just doesn't do that. So for that reason, I'm gonna just have to put them in D tier, honestly. I'm sorry, but that's just how the AI is with you guys. And from the Benelux region, let's move our way up all the way into the Scandinavian countries, minus Sweden actually. I'm looking at you, Norway and Finland, because they're not in F tier. Well, the reason is because they do at least some stuff that can be a little interesting. They can form Scandinavia themselves actually, and even fight the Germans too, which is rare, but you can see it maybe sometimes. And it's pretty hard for the AI to usually kill them. I know Sweden has that whole thing with them where they try to kill them, and that takes sometimes years for that to go on for. And moving over to Finland, Finland, I mean, what can I say, honestly? They're kind of like the image of just like resistance against the big man of the East, which is good in a sense because they have the whole focus tree of just having buffs and debuffs for people fighting them, and they can even form Scandinavia too, which is sometimes awesome to see. And when they fight the Soviets and hold out, I mean, it's pretty good to watch, but also sometimes they don't have men on the borders, so they just kind of fall and die. It's a little inconsistent, but I do appreciate the try for the AI, making them live a little longer than usual. So for that reason, they'll go in D tier 2. And I know I might look like I have some high standards from the AI to do anything really, but I'm just saying in general, when you look at these nations here, do you really see them doing much? Do you really see them making these big plays, big AI moments where they do something crazy that shapes the whole landscape of your gameplay? Probably not. And from Finland, let's go down south into the Balkan regions. We got some interesting countries here for sure, but does the AI do well with them? Not really. Let's first talk about Yugoslavia, as they're probably the most important part of the Balkans, really. They have a nifty focus tree that the AI can go down and do some questionable paths for sure, but they don't really tend to do a whole lot, honestly, and they are protected by like a whole bunch of countries, and usually that would make them go to war. And I have seen sometimes them picking on Italy and winning, but most of the time that just doesn't happen. They kind of just sit around and linger a little too long, and they don't really cook as well, which can lead us down south into another nation that for sure does not cook well, and that's Greece. And I mean, Greece kind of suffers the same problem where they can kind of cook up a really cool idea and find the Byzantines. I mean, holy. But most of the time, they just have too many debuffs for the AI to handle, and they just don't have the idea of like a human to go and kill Turkey and make that stupid idea plan. It's like, oh, we got naval invade back here, and then make sure they're right here, and then, oh, we gotta get, like, it just doesn't happen. And most of the time, they're the ones getting attacked on, and they can barely survive that as it is. I mean, speaking of Bulgaria, I mean, like, they're there. They got some bad debuffs at first, but sometimes you can see them be a pretty big part of the Balkan regions with them allying with like the Axis, or even maybe going down a little bit of a communist route and forming that, you know, Balkan Federation thing like Yugoslavia can too. But I don't know, it just doesn't seem like they tried their best. They don't try their hardest to make sure that the AI goes crazy here and they do something pretty world changing. And mainly the last country here that I want to talk about is Romania. I really do wish that this tree was better, and it's modified in Road to 56, but like in Road to 56 it might even be worse, as their focus tree has this idea if they go the brown ideology or go communist, well, they have a civil war, and that's never good for any small nation. Or when they go communist, there's that whole meme that they just become a dominion to the Soviets and they do nothing. But they can have some leverages in wars, as they have, well, like a good amount of divisions there, 31. Wow. Yeah, it's sad to see, but those countries don't do much, so that's why they gotta go in D tier. And I guess let's go to the east, the beast from the east, which is, well, all of the Asian nations, basically. And no, it's not China, it's everything surrounding them, minus Japan. And I mean, what is there to say? I'm not gonna talk about every single one of these countries. The warlords are cool, they sometimes do some things, and the PRC is really cool and fun to play with by yourself, but they kind of go to war with the Zhangji and then Zima, and then China just kind of goes in on them a little too hard. I mean, even like, you know, Siam here joining the Japanese with their East Coast Prosperity Sphere, they just don't really do much for me to say that the A is a big play in this region here, or even on the global stage especially. So for that reason, they're just gonna all go in the D tier. And with us having our D tier ranks in place, let's move on to the bigger countries that I think can play a bigger role with the AI's functionality. And I guess let's go and start with the first C-tier nation being, honestly, it's gotta be Italy. With them having such a massive focus sheet with a whole bunch of possibilities with their political tree. I mean, like, look at, I zoomed out all the way. You can't even read any of the letters here. Like, jeez. But with all those possibilities of doing anything you want, the AI just tends to sometimes do not much with it. And I mean, man, I've seen so many times before where they have troubles in Ethiopia. They can't even really do much fighting Yugoslavia and naval invading Greece. Have you seen that one before from them? The AI is just, it's sometimes a joke. But when they play their cards right, they kind of start cooking a little bit, honestly. Like when they start getting the puppets for Yugoslavia, Albania, they actually conquer Greece like in a more strategic way. And they get that whole Rome Protocol faction going for them. They can look pretty menacing and actually a threat to anybody outside of that faction. So they're not someone that can just be looked at as not a threat initially. You kind of have to see how the AI plays with them throughout the whole game. But I mean, in historical, we all know how they die. They kind of just get invaded from the south and they don't really guard their ports as well. And that's another thing that I forgot about right now is that they suck at port guarding, and it pisses me off when I have them in my faction. And for that reason, I put Italy at C tier. But moving on from Italy, we're actually going right next door. Knock, knock, knock. Hello, France. And I was this close to putting France at D tier because of just how much they piss me off with how the AI handles with them. And I'm serious, so this isn't like a joke or anything. I hate the way that the AI plays with France. I think it's one, even though, you know, France is kind of a joke in World War II. They get curb stomped by Germany every game if they go to war with them. They have these cool focus trees of just like going monarchists and having Napoleon come back and like actually being a threat in paper. But in reality, I've had a couple games where they have Napoleon come back and he's like, hey guys, I'm Napoleon, I'm back. All right, we're gonna go to war with the Benelux. And he goes to war with the Benelux and he has like 8 troops here. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I have so many videos that I have just France underperforming, not doing good, and especially not really doing anything with their colonies over here. But I can't deny the fact that even when they're kind of bad on their own, when they're like allied with the UK or with the Soviet Union, if they go communist or something like that, or any alliance that makes them with another major, they kind of are like a stronghold in Europe or in mainland Europe to kind of defend themselves or whatever faction they're in. Like, they're not great, but it's kind of the same thing with Italy, is that they can maybe kind of pop off a bit with having a good partner like Germany. But I mean, I don't know, it's just like, it's a little bit that pisses me off that they don't do well. Like, they just go through that Maginot sometimes, even though they have troops, they just don't put them there. There's just something wrong with the French AI, and for that reason, they're gonna have to go in C tier. That's the best they can do for you, France. And from France, let's go down a bit over to Spain. Now, I'm not too hardcore, and maybe they could be D because they don't really do much or whatever. They do have a really cool focus sheet. I do like seeing them go anarchist and just declaring war on almost everybody. But I mean, sometimes, hey, you know, they join the Axis, they get puppeted to them with that weird German, that focus thing. I really wish that they did the monarchist path more often and actually, you know, go to war with South America and do some crazy stuff there. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think the US is gonna like that with the Monroe Doctrine, so it kind of makes sense. I think we all love when they have the Spain moment, but for real though, they kind of just are there. They kind of do what they do well a little bit. They stay in the corner. They sometimes get Portugal. They can sometimes show in the France whenever they're getting attacked, but from the same thing as Italy, them port guarding is like a disaster. If like they join like the Axis, the UK's like, oh, free land. You're not really expecting much from Spain with the AI. So that's why they're going in C tier. And from Spain, let's move on over to the right here and talk about Austria and Czechoslovakia. With Austria having that new updated focus tree that can actually do a lot of stuff, like holy crap. The AI doesn't really tend to do too well usually because, well, one, Germany kind of just eats them most of the time when Mustache Man's around, but they can also hold their own against them, and I've seen that before, and it's really awesome to see that happen. And they can actually cook up a little more than just that. They can form the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which is, well, always great to see happen. But, you know, they're not perfect at it. You know, they're not like some other countries that can do it, wink, wink. But on the contrary, they have lots of options of having friends or just such a small nation allying with Italy, you know, even going democratic and allying with the UK. They just have an interesting idea of how the AI works where they can kind of do whatever and they're more or less like okay with it. They're honestly all right. And with their northern neighbors, Czechoslovakia, it's kind of the same story, a little bit, not in the sense of their abilities of doing anything, but more on the fact that they can just lock the hell down when they're getting attacked. Not all the time. That's why they're not like a B or A or anything. Just sometimes they can lock down. They have this terrible focus shit. I'm like, what is this, dude? And it did get up, well, modified at least in Red 56, but that couldn't help them enough to make any other decisions that are cool. They have the Sudetenland, which they can upgrade their force on, which is always nice to see, especially when Germany starts picking on them. And even sometimes when Poland asks to ally with them, or they ally with another major, like the Allies or something, they can kind of tend to be a little like self-sustained. Yeah, you know, Hungary might get in a little bit in Slovakia, but you know, for what they are, you expect the AI to kind of hold a little bit, not forever, but just enough for you to be like, hey, okay, that makes sense. And for that reason, they're gonna go in C tier. I think it's pretty well respected, honestly. Oh, and I forgot about the country over here, Switzerland. And I mean, hey, if I were to be dead honest, I might even put them like at the low of D tier, but like I can't deny they locked down as well as Czechoslovakia, even maybe even more with the AI. They just like sit there and they just like fort up and they're just like, we will not move, and they just literally do not move. Sometimes they form that whole Alpine Federation thing, which is always great to see, and they kind of pop off a bit with that, but they're not crazy good. They is not making these big power plays, or they're not a big nation to make like an industrial powerhouse. So for that reason, they stay at C tier. And let's go down a little bit more south with the final Middle Eastern country, Turkey. What is there to say? I kind of feel bad about their focus tree. First of all, it's a disaster, and mainly for the AI because like they don't know how to navigate through this properly and form like the Ottoman Empire. Sometimes you just see them go in a civil war and that's about it. But you know, the main purpose I would think about Turkey is that they're like the stronghold of in between like the Soviets, or like going into Asia, or like going into Europe mainly. And they have that whole, you know, Istanbul, like they can kind of lock down here and this other side here and just defend. And I mean, for what they do and how much industry and like manpower they get over time, sometimes the AI does pop off a bit and supports like the major players. Like if they go communist, they help out the Soviets. If they go democratic, they definitely help out the Allies. So for them, it's kind of simple, just that kind of middle of the ground. They're just there. They don't do too much, but they can definitely help out the team if they need to. So for that reason, C tier. And from Turkey and from Istanbul itself, we're going all the way over, flying to Poland. Now, I really do wish that Poland was higher on the list. Maybe like an A tier, B tier, but I can't give it to them. One, they die so easily between Germany or the Soviets. It's like, what can I say? It's just inevitable that they die towards them. But on the contrary, right, let's just say if, like, I don't know, they go down this little monarchist route, which is just the best focus in the entire game. It's like one of the most fun. You have so many options to choose here, and the AI does tend to do many of those options. Let's just say Germany has a civil war, Russia has a civil war. They can kind of actually pop off with them rather eating Romania or just like, going to Czechoslovakia, eating Lithuania and forming that Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. It's always great to see the AI do that. And they're not really bad at it. They can kind of get wars down pretty good. Sometimes even when they're in that late stage, when they fight Germany later, they hold the line actually. It's just kind of like what's going on. Is Germany dying? Is the Soviets going into civil war earlier? Just like that's what Poland is. You gotta watch out for the big people surrounding them. And if they're not really going much after them, Poland's an eye to keep on. So that's why they're going in C tier. And from Poland, we're going up north into Sweden. Now, I know some people might be like, what the hell, Sweden? They don't really do anything in my games either. But like, well, what are you doing? Well, like, okay, it's fair. I'm just saying, for me at least, I would say when you look at Sweden, how they eventually are, well, neutral most of the time, they kind of pop off a bit. They do a lot of trading. They get their factory game up. They can sometimes, or most of the time, they go and form Scandinavia. They eat up Norway, go to war with Denmark, maybe sometimes go to war with Finland. Or they just have the Baltic Assembly faction, and they do pretty well with that too. They do a pretty good job of just being like a slow cooking stew. Sometimes they're not like the best thing in the world, but when they go to war with like Germany and they're like really cooking, they can actually lock down Denmark, make sure those ports are like garrisoned, and they kind of have a little title for themselves for that reason. So for that reason, you're going in C tier. And well, I guess we're done with those C tiers. What you would think until I actually tell you that, well, there's one country I think that needs to get a reality check, and that's the Soviets. Oh, what's that, Stalin? You're surprised that you're actually that bad when the AI comes to it? And I think we all know this by now, is that the Soviet AI is probably the worst major out of all the AIs. I mean, you can go historical, you can do any focus tree that you want here, and most of the time when the AI goes to war with more than one country, they just go brain dead and they can't hold any front at all. Maybe besides like them fighting Turkey or whatever, but you literally have mountains, so I don't even know how you couldn't hold that to begin with. But I mean, man, with the possibilities of them just having like different communist paths, but then the problem with that, they just have civil wars, and usually when they have a civil war, they sometimes spawn up here if they're going the alternate communist path in the middle of a Siberian tundra. And it's like, I have to help them out sometimes in my videos because they just sit there and do nothing, and I'm like, wow, what a wasted nation of just doing nothing. And man, I really do wish that when they go and do the white Russian path and they go down and get like the Tsar and all that, they just, even then, they still don't have that idea of like, you know what, we're gonna go get our imperial borders and attack them. No, they just sit and do nothing. Or they ally to some other nation and then they get invaded on because they don't know how to guard their borders. And it's sad. And don't even get me on the freaking Japanese front. It's like they might as well have no troops at all there. That's why the Soviet Union is going in C tier, but all the way in the back, bud. You don't deserve that glory of being up there. And now we're on to the B tier of the list, which we don't have that many countries left, but let's move on down over here with China and Japan. And let's start out with China over here. Now, China in base game and in Red Dead 56 both play different. And what I mean by that is that Red Dead 56 does a way better job with having China actually do good things. And in base game, I just constantly see them just get annexed by Yunnan, the Guangxi clique, or just like other warlords. I don't know why. But in Road to 56, which is like most of my opinions are based off of here, they just do such an interesting job throughout their focus tree and like having, you know, actual stuff get done. If they're fighting Japan, they can guard their ports, at least not the best, but they can handle it maybe well enough that sometimes they can push them out into Manchuria. And I always love seeing them united because like then they become like an actual disgusting mess where like no matter how many times a country declares war on them, no one's breaking through. There's not a single country when they're fully united that can go to war with them and stop them. There's too many people, there's too many divisions. They're all garrisoned like on every single port, like 50 divisions. They're just locked down. They're pretty decent at what they do. And to the arch rivals over here with Japan. And I mean, I also gotta say the same thing. They got their stuff locked down. And especially on historical, you know, they do a pretty good job sometimes of just going and naval invading through China. And even then they can take over all of China. And I'm sometimes surprised myself. And then they can go down through like the Philippines, Indochina, they ally with Siam. And sometimes they just go to like Australia, like I said, and just reap havoc there. But that's where I have to stop giving them compliments, because on the contrary, with them going historical, the downside is them going any other ideology is the bad side. Because although them going doing the Showa restoration and them going monarchist, they don't do much really when they do that. They might go to war with Russia, but like that doesn't go anywhere. They might go to war with China, but it's already too late by that time. And well, we don't even need to talk about them going democratic or communist because they just sit there and do nothing. But looking back at how the AI handles them, they do the Navy good enough. They do pretty well with their army. But other than that, not much going on. That's why China and Japan are going in B tier. And with us going all the way over to Europe to talk about our final B nation, it's Hungary. And yeah, it's Hungary because I gotta tell you what, they are the biggest underdog out of any nation when the AI handles them. Period. I mean, it's not even close, actually. With that new update that they got with how they can form Austria-Hungary and like this whole path they got going on here, it's wild. And with them having like the Danubian Federation, of course, it's just like another way of them just becoming like all of Central Europe, and just all the majors have a bad time trying to deal with them. And I mean, they don't have like too many ambitious goals. Maybe they want to make greater Hungary, or just like, you know, maybe take down like a big horse in Europe, but that doesn't happen that much. But most of the time when they go down their focus tree, it's always great to see how well they do in terms of just having so many divisions all over the place. They can definitely help out any major in any situation. And I mean, yeah, for just such a small nation like Hungary is, they kind of pull their weight. So Mr. HOI4, you guys are going in respectable B tier. And let's get down to business and talk about the two main powers of World War II. And mainly, these are the only two countries I would say that have the biggest impact in the entire Hearts of Iron game. In any game you play, these two countries always have an importance. Let's start with the UK. The UK is just, well, the definition and symbol of just like alone. And well, when you play historical and they're all alone, you can definitely get that sense that they locked down as well, just holding the ports and nothing's getting by. And when they have their time to build up their nation and make that D-Day landing or invade in Sicily, they always do it. No matter how many times I've seen it, the AI just can do it. And they're not perfect at it, of course, but the AI in HOI is not perfect. So for what they got, they always do it well. And when you go from unhistorical past, they have an interesting idea of, you know, doing them, as they're not always the best at it. But for what they do, as in like, you know, they go communist and then they have a whole bunch of puppets or whatever, that's kind of where they fall apart. But nevertheless, they still are like on their own island here, and they kind of just, you know, be themselves. They're alone. They attack kind of alone most of the time, and they don't really play the part of helping out any other majors like France points over here, that's for sure. But man, when they need to go to war with somebody, especially like Germany or like Russia, they just make those naval invasions that just literally end those countries' careers. And it's happened almost every single video that I've seen, that they just try to make an invasion that just destroys a nation. And let's also talk about their arch nemesis, I would say, in this equation, Germany. And Germany is like, well, the opposite of the UK. They're not by themselves. They're surrounded by all of those countries. And yet almost every time that I've seen them now, they actually play it smart. Unlike in the old days of Hearts of Iron, whenever they saw a war goal, they would just go, yep, click, click, click. I'm at war with like everybody. They don't do that anymore, which is, I think, great. That's what needed to fix for them in terms of an AI. They perform the best when they're not under like a whole bunch of wars. When they need to go to war with Poland in historical, they do it quick, like very quick, and they get it done. When they go to war with the Benelux, they move their troops over and they actually get those panzer divisions and just stack and kill the Benelux region and take over Paris. They do a great job at that. They're literally the definition of just like going to war is so easy for them that the AI doesn't have to think as much as, well, like the UK with invasions, because, well, they kind of are stacked with the odds with them. I mean, like, look at these bonuses that they have just beginning on, let alone, you know, them having the biggest focus tree in the base game. I mean, like, there's no question about that. They were just the main country that everybody thinks of this game. And with them having so many possibilities of just going non-historical, going monarchist, you know, going democratic, literally every chance that they get to do an alternate path, they are just the main character, no matter what. They're not perfect, but in the sense of how well they're confined in the compounds of HOI4 AI, I think it's honestly just one of the best countries that the AI gets their hands on with. So for that reason, they're going at A tier, which obviously leaves me with the last nation of, well, the US. And no, it's not because I'm patriotic, let me tell ya. It's more than just that, more than walls in the south. We have more than just ice raids on people's houses. No, but seriously, the US is just undeniably the best AI nation. And the reason why is that because they're just alone. They're not like the UK alone. They have conflicts of them getting naval invaded and whatever, and sometimes they don't handle that well. But like the US, they just have Canada and Mexico to deal with, and they can fight both of them at the same time and kill them that easily. The AI doesn't have to worry about much about port guarding or really anything else. They could be fighting two wars at once, that like they do in historical, like fighting Japan and Germany, and they still just make the best plays. The Normandy invasions, them invading the Pacific Islands, going all the way up into Japan. I mean, hell, they even get into Tokyo and just like completely eat them up. I mean, like, if we're talking about like an all-in nation, this nation just does not care because they have the safest bet. Their focus tree isn't anything crazy, but it definitely comes along with them, you know, not having like a fast start in the game. It takes them about like 5 years for them to start cooking because of, well, you know, the Great Depression. But I mean, just like in general, it's just they do so well at what they do. Like even in the unhistorical, they're always like the guy to look at. Are they going to be a part of this war? If they're not, well, I guess there are eyes on Europe. And when they do get a part of a war, they're most likely going to win that war because they're just always that good. That's what you love to see as an American. Them in S tier. That's for sure. And oh, I almost forget about Tana too, but they can go in S tier. They're way out of everybody's league. Watch the fuck out when you see them in play. I mean, like, look at them. I mean, like, it's just the aura and power that they have. I mean, they could give the Soviet Union just the death stare, and it's like, oh wow. I mean, yeah, exactly. They don't even need to try. They just give them a look and they're dead. But that's my list, guys. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Did I cook? Did I not cook? Did I make a terrible list on how I think the AI performs in this game based off of whatever ideas I have for them? Let me know down below. But I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you leave that like and subscribe. Also, join my Discord server if you haven't already. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye! Also, I have no idea. Just like I have no idea if people are gonna like this list. I have, I have no idea.